Marcus had built a thriving business, 3 bays running, 4 mechanics on payroll, a loan getting paid down every month. By every number that mattered, he had made it. And yet, every night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling of the house he'd put up as collateral, running the numbers in his head for the 4th time that week, listening for the phone, waiting for the call that said something had broken, someone had quit, a customer had walked. He had built something real, and it was eating him alive. 17 years at Henderson's had taught Marcus what 60-hour weeks do to a body. He knew it in his knees, which had started locking up on cold mornings. He knew it in his rotator cuff, which had been screaming since September, and which he had told exactly no one about. But now, it was his shop, his loan, his name on the door. So he worked harder, because that is what you do when everything depends on you. That is what you do when stopping feels like dying. Jerome arrives early, catches him in that frozen posture. Marcus immediately picks up a rag and starts wiping his hands. The old reflex, even though they are not dirty yet. Jerome pretends not to have seen anything. The first year, Marcus had told himself it was temporary. You grind at the start, you build the thing, then it runs. That was the plan. But somewhere in year 2, the plan had quietly stopped being the plan. Jerome got poached by a dealership. A hydraulic lift failed inspection. $40,000 Marcus did not have. And Marcus, who had once told Jerome that the owner working the hardest was backwards. Marcus was now the first one in and the last one out, every single day. Karen finds Marcus at the kitchen table at 11 p.m. He's asleep sitting up, his head resting on a stack of accounts receivable reports, a red pen still loosely held in his fingers. She does not wake him. She goes to the counter, pours a glass of water, sets it next to his hand. Then she picks up the top sheet of paper and reads the numbers. Her face does not change. She sets it back down, turns off the overhead light, and leaves him there. The week Jerome left was the week Marcus understood the difference between owning a business and being the business. Jerome had been the shop's best tech. Without him, Marcus was back under cars, back turning wrenches, back doing the thing he had promised himself he was building away from. The lift repair bill sat on his desk like an accusation. He had 2 options that made sense, and one that scared him badly enough that he had not said it out loud yet. Marcus sits in Dave's old office, still faintly smelling of cheap cigars, with a legal pad in front of him. He writes 3 words, each on its own line, and draws a box around each one. Close. Refinance. The 3rd line he writes and then crosses out, then rewrites, then stares at. He picks up his phone, scrolls to a contact, Tony Marchetti, and holds his thumb over the call button for a long moment. He sets the phone face down on the desk, picks it up again, sets it down. The cigar smell is very present. Tony Marchetti had been bringing his fleet of 12 delivery trucks to Henderson's since 1998. He was not a friend. He was something more reliable than a friend. He was a man who paid his invoices on time.
Marcus, what?
He knew things about those trucks that Tony did not know yet. 3 of them needed transmission work inside 2 years.
That's more than I'm paying now.
I've got skin in the game now, Tony. I've got skin in the game now, Tony. I've got skin in the game now, Tony.
Tony signed. Then Mrs. Patterson's son-in-law, the landscaping company, 8 vehicles. Then 3 more fleet owners Marcus had been quietly building toward for years. The shop's income stabilized. Jerome's replacement turned out to be better than Jerome. The lift got fixed. On paper, Henderson's auto repair was becoming what Marcus had always said it would be. And Marcus was still the last one to leave every night. Still the one who answered the phone at midnight when the alarm triggered. Still the one whose hands shook on the drive home. He pulls into the driveway, sits in the car for 4 minutes after the engine is off. The garage light is on inside. Karen is still up. He watches the light through the window. He does not get out of the car yet. Karen had signed the papers. She had picked up extra tutoring to cover the months when the shop couldn't quite make the loan payment and their salary at the same time. She had left him asleep at the kitchen table and said nothing. She had watched him come home later and later, quieter and quieter, and she had waited. Karen Williams had spent 28 years teaching ninth graders how to read what a story was actually about underneath the words. She knew how to wait for the real sentence. Sunday evening, Karen and Marcus on the back porch. The sun is going down. It should be peaceful. Karen has a glass of wine she has not touched. Marcus has a beer he has been holding for 20 minutes, also untouched.
You know what you sound like when you talk about the shop now?
What?
You sound like Dave Henderson, before the heart attack.
Marcus does not answer. Karen picks up her wine, takes one sip, sets it back down.
I didn't co-sign for Dave Henderson's life. I co-signed for yours. I didn't co-sign for Dave Henderson's life. I co-signed for yours.
By year 3, Henderson's had 4 full-time mechanics, a service writer, and an office manager. The shop would net $180,000 that year. Marcus was drawing a $50,000 salary, same as he had made working for Dave. The difference was the 50 came whether he was there or not. Jerome's replacement could run the place. The contracts kept renewing. The systems kept working. Marcus had built the thing. And then, for the first time, he let himself believe it. A Saturday morning, Marcus walks into the shop, not to work. He's wearing a clean shirt, no shop rag in his back pocket for the first time in 17 years. He walks to the back, to Dave's old office, and stands in the doorway. The cigar smell is finally gone. Someone has put a plant on the windowsill. He stands there a moment, then turns and walks back out into the morning light. His hands are still. Dave Henderson called. A friend of his, a body shop in Dearborn, retiring, looking for a buyer. Marcus told Karen that night on the porch. She looked at him for a long moment.
Another shop.
Another asset. Another stream that doesn't need me to break anything to keep it running.
He took a sip of his beer. This time he actually tasted it. Marcus has a legal pad on his knee, but he hasn't written anything on it yet. He draws one circle on the page, then another, connected to it, then a third. He holds it up so she can see. 3 circles, linked. She looks at it, looks at him. She picks up her wine and clinks it against his beer bottle without saying anything. 5 years later, Marcus Williams owned 3 shops across the Detroit metro area. He worked 20 hours a week. His son David was learning the operations side of the family company. Marcus still came in on Saturdays sometimes, not to work, just to walk through, to remember what it felt like to have oil under his fingernails, and a boss who paid him by the hour, and a body that ached by noon. He never wanted to forget that feeling, because that feeling, that exhaustion, that ceiling staring, hands shaking, marriage testing wait, that had been the last honest thing that scared him badly enough to make him move. And moving had been the only thing that saved him. He takes a sip of coffee and walks back out into the light.